Here we go again. But now we will compare SQL and NoSQL. So let's start the video. Now you see first what is SQL. SQL stands for Structured Query Language. SQL is a standard language for dealing with relational database. SQL can be used to insert, search, update, and delete database records. SQL can do lots of operations, including optimizing and maintenance database. Now, let's go to NoSQL. NoSQL is a non-relational data management system that does not require a fixed schema. It avoids joins and is easy to scale. The major purpose of using a NoSQL database is for distributed data. As to store this data, we need humongous data storage. NoSQL is for big data and real-time web apps. For example, companies like Twitter, Facebook, and Google that collect terabytes of users' data every single day. NoSQL database stands for not only SQL or NoSQL. Now let's compare the two, SQL and NoSQL. The first we will consider is the definition. SQL databases are primarily called RDBMS or relational databases. NoSQL databases are primarily called as non-relational or distributed databases. The next point is the query language. SQL stands for Structured Query Language, and this is the standard language when we talk about SQL. But in NoSQL database have no declarative query language to work with. This brings us to the next point, that is the type. SQL databases are table-based databases. Tables form the backbone of this entity, but when we come to NoSQL, it includes everything. NoSQL databases can be document-based, key value pairs, graph databases, and many more. The next point is scalability. SQL databases are vertically scalable and can be stacked on one another, whereas NoSQL is horizontally scalable. The next point is usage. SQL is an ideal choice for the complex query intensive environment, but when it comes to NoSQL, it's a little left behind as it is not good for complex queries. The next point is open source. In SQL, there is a mix of open source like PostgreSQL and MySQL, and commercials like Oracle database. But when it comes to NoSQL, that ever since open source. The next point is principal mode. SQL follows ACID model, which is atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability. When it comes to NoSQL, we have base model, basically available, soft state, and eventually consistent. After comparing both SQL and NoSQL, let's see when to use SQL. SQL is used to carry operations on RDBMS. SQL comes into practice when analyzing behavioral related and customized sessions. SQL is used when creating custom dashboards. SQL is preferred while executing complex queries. And let's go to NoSQL. When to use NoSQL? NoSQL databases are preferred when ACID support is not required. Used when traditional RDBMS is not enough. NoSQL is used when the data needs a flexible schema. NoSQL used when constraint and validation logic are not required to be implemented in the database.